What is up, y'all, and welcome back to the channel. Richie Valentine here, about to mount the one-wheel Pint. Today the objective is to learn how to carve with the Pint. Carving has many benefits. If you've ever been on a skateboard, a longboard, or a snowboard before, you'll know that carving can be an effective way to maneuver around and control your speed, particularly if you've done snowboarding. With snowboarding, you're going downhill, and in order to slow yourself down but still be in motion, a fun way of descending the mountain is to carve back and forth, left to right, kind of leaning left and backwards or towards the right and forward. And that is a skill that you kind of pick up. You kind of feel the shifting of your weight and the direction in which your snowboard goes. But in this case, we have the one wheel, and the principles are pretty similar. I don't know how to articulate as well, because where I last left off in snowboarding was when I started being able to carve the last time I was snowboarding, and that was about 10 years ago. I had injured myself up on the mountain by taking a more advanced slope, and so I basically took a break from it then. But I remember just before quitting snowboarding, I just remembered how fun, once you get the carving down, how fun it was to go down the mountain. And today we had a break in the rain, so what did I do? I grabbed my friend's Pint that he's letting me borrow from the previous video, if you've seen it, and I decided to take it out. And if you'll notice, I'm in a rather empty parking lot. A cool tip on where you can ride relatively safely and where there are fewer cars is the back of a grocery store. A lot of the parking, cars, and traffic tend to be in the front of the store, but in the back is where they have delivery trucks that bring the produce and the goods, and they unload the trucks in the back. But that happens maybe once a day, and probably very early in the morning or late into the night. And so generally these areas are pretty wide open. And there I am practicing my stopping. What I've noticed is the one wheel is similar to riding a manual transmission car, a stick shift. So two of the hardest phases for me when learning stick was the initial startup, getting into first gear, and letting the car catch the gear as you're easing off the clutch. And there's that little sweet spot. With the one wheel, it's getting the balance just right when you mount the board, because sometimes if you do it too quickly, you kind of teeter-totter forward and you don't get the balance you want to engage the one wheel. In a car, if you try to start too quickly and don't get the clutch timing just right, you're going to stall the car. And similar to stopping, when you stop a manual transmission car and you don't depress the clutch and put the car in neutral, you're gonna stall when you stop. And with the one wheel, you have to get the timing of your heel to get up just right so that you're not accelerating on the wheel while you're trying to stop and it slides away from you while you're trying to dismount. So those are two things that I've been practicing, starting up and stopping. But as many people will mention, the one wheel can cause a lot of foot fatigue, and you're not gonna get a ton of practice in if you tire out too quickly. One of the remedies to that is learning how to carve. And by carving, you're shifting your weight back and forth and thereby applying different pressures to areas of your feet, your calves, and your legs. So by offsetting and shifting off of those tense muscles that you're constantly using while on the board, you give certain muscle groups relief when you get to shift side to side. And because of the way the balancing works on the one wheel, you can sometimes lean into your turn, which takes a lot of your weight where you were standing on, and you shift it forward into a completely different area. And so because that is an important skill to learn, that is carving, I thought I would spend the day and try to learn how to do that. Now, my timing isn't all that great yet. I'm still feeling it out. Here I'm doing a POV, or point of view, of what it looks like when I'm carving. Turning to the right I found to be easier as a regular rider, but turning to the left, where you kind of have to lean back and lean towards the left, that was kind of a challenge for me at first. About towards the end of the session, I realized to improve my turning left, you simply crouch down a little bit by bending both knees and leaning towards the left. It really gives the board the dip it needs to turn in that direction. So just to break things up, I decided to take the one wheel down the street, and that'll be the next thing to get good at as well, which is riding through the streets confidently around moving cars. Because when you first enter traffic and you're just learning the one wheel, you're just starting out, it can be quite intimidating because you haven't gotten a decent mastery over your board yet. You're quite a beginner, and so you're a little bit unconfident. Now look at me catch up to this guy walking right here. Isn't that cool? So much funner to ride the one wheel than walk anywhere. So I rode the one wheel down the street to another empty back parking lot, and yeah, look at all this wide open space. There's nobody here. I can work on my big circles. I can work on my carving. I've been trying to work on my tight circles as well. That's very important for sharp turns. And so that takes a lot of practice, and you gotta have a lot of trust in your board. There are some times where the pitch of the board feels like it's gonna crash when you're tucking your nose down to do a sharp turn. But the way the one wheel is built is it's at those lower speeds, it wants to stay balanced. Although you shouldn't have almost zero speed when you're doing these tight turns, you should have a little bit, because if you go too slow, the one wheel thinks you're trying to stop, and so it won't respond as well, and it might even engage the smart stop. So here I am just zipping around. I decided to enter the street again. And rather than dismounting, checking for traffic, and then going, I just did a bunch of little circles until I saw that there were no cars coming in my direction. And that's when I decided to enter the street. Now, going down these straights, I did activate the pushback a couple times. And what do? You respect the pushback. You don't push through it unless you're a pro and can handle it. Definitely don't do it while you're a newbie, and definitely don't do it while you're on asphalt. There you can see people have got rid of their carved out Halloween pumpkins. And yeah, just general comfort of doing wider circles in this parking lot. And all that carving practice I did earlier seemed to help. So that was pretty much it. A little bit of exercise. You choose a drill that you want to do for the day and you work on it. I'll see you guys in the next video.